Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's funny, I often take or ask at the start of my public classes anyway, does anyone have any requests? And usually the requests are like, oh, low back, or hamstrings, or hip flexors, or shoulder tightness. And one thing that one person requested once was groins. And as soon as someone said it, everyone was like, yeah, let's do that. But it's like we're afraid to say, I need to stretch my inner thigh, right? Like it's that word or something, groin. I don't know. So today we're going to get into the adductors a little bit, as they're actually called. A little bit of strengthening, a little bit of release, and then that'll be half an hour. So I hope that you enjoy this. And if you are one of those people who are too scared to ask for groins in a public yoga class, this one's for you. Okay, as always, if you have any cushions or blocks or anything that you can use to bring the floor up to you, they'll be useful, but not required. Okay, let's start lying down. You can have your knees bent or straight, whatever feels good for you. And sometimes it takes a little bit of, wiggling or fidgeting just to settle on the mat. Once you feel like, physically anyway, you're settled, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more, just like that. And continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing, if it feels really open or spacious. Lately there's been kind of a change of weather here in Vancouver, so I've been feeling a little bit of sticky or choppiness. And if you're like me, you might just gently smooth through those parts of the breath, or lengthen those parts of the breath rather, just to smooth it out a little bit more. Last few breaths here. And then slowly start to bring a little bit of movement back to your body. A little wiggle or shake. Maybe interlace your hands over your head and do a long full body morning stretch. Oh, you might encourage a yawn that way. And then draw your knees into your chest. Take a little rock from side to side. Okay, bring your left foot to the floor, keep your knee bent, and then take your right knee out to the right. So almost drawing it up to your right shoulder a little bit more. By extending the left leg, you will intensify this quite a bit. You'll also get a little bit of release into the hip flexors on that left leg, depending on how tight they are. So this is a lovely place to stay. Just gently using the weight of your right arm to draw that right knee down, but also back to the back right corner of your mat. This is a beautiful place to stay. Maybe some of you might choose to kick that right foot to the sky, taking a variation of half happy baby. So you can grab the back of the thigh if you like, the outside of the leg, the ankle, or the foot. Now, half happy baby can be super intense, especially with that left leg extended. So if it feels like it's too much, just bend your left knee, and then you can kind of snuggle into it a little bit more. So wherever you are, whatever it looks like, last couple breaths. And then we'll switch sides. Shake it out a little bit. And then bring your right foot to the floor and draw your left knee out to the left corner of your mat, or the back left corner of your mat. Again, maybe you keep that right leg bent. Maybe you extend it. You can have your right hand on your hip just to help keep that hip down, or even out to the side for a little bit of counterbalance. Again, this is a beautiful place to stay, drawing that left knee toward your left shoulder, or maybe you kick the foot to the sky for half happy baby, grabbing anywhere along your foot, your ankle, or your leg. Right knee can be bent or straight. Last few breaths here. And then slowly, gently release. Shake everything out. And then bring your feet mat width apart and do a little windshield wiper of the knees. Just massaging out your spine, getting a little bit of rotation through the hips, a little bit of rotation through the spine. And then draw your knees together back toward you. Some of you are going to feel great rocking and rolling up and down your spine here. It might be shoulder blades to sit bones, to shoulder blades to sit bones. Some of you might choose to just roll to one side and press yourself up. But eventually, we'll meet on hands and knees. Setting up with knees underneath your hips. Toes could be tucked or untucked. Hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. And as you inhale, lift the tailbone to the sky, hollow through the lower back, broaden through the collarbones. And exhale, round through your spine. Tuck the tailbone under. Inhale to cow. Exhale, round into cat. Last couple like this. Moving however you need to. And then gently come back to center. Little draw of belly button to spine. Make sure your hands haven't migrated back to the center line of your mat. Tuck your toes. On your exhale, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Keep the knees bent. Pedal your heels toward the floor. Wag your tail from side to side. Whatever you need to do. And then bend your knees, look forward, exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. Couple breaths here. Knees at least micro bent, right? With the legs straight, you're getting a lot of tension through the sciatic nerve, which, trust me, is not something you want to do. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. 2 more. Maybe sigh or flutter your lips. And then bend your knees. Tuck your chin in toward your chest. Head heavy, arms heavy. Slowly start to roll up to standing. 1 vertebra at a time. Slow as you need to go. A couple loops of the shoulders, up, back, and down. Little wiggle, release. Whatever you need to do to release, fix your clothes. I mean, we all do it. It's not a big deal. Feet hip width apart. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, melt to the earth. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands. Inhale, step back to plank. Top of a push-up, either from your toes or from your knees, wherever you need to be. Couple breaths, squeeze your bum, squeeze the tops of the thighs. Draw your lower ribs to the sky. And then look to the top edge of the mat. Exhale, lower all the way down to the earth. Little wiggle of the hips from side to side. Untuck your toes, press the tops of the feet into the floor, so much so that you feel your kneecaps lift away from the earth. Tailbone to the back wall. Belly button to spine. Inhale. Lift the heart forward and up. baby cobra. Back of the neck stays long. So rather than lifting through the chin, think of tucking the chin and then exhale down. A few of these on your own time, on your own breath. Inhale to lift up and exhale to fold. Bring your hands back underneath your shoulders or by your low ribs. Tuck your toes. Exhale, lift up and back. Downward facing dog. On your inhale, lift your right leg high, three-legged dog. And then open your hips to the right. Bend the top knee. Then hug that heel in toward your bum a little bit more. You might start to shift the weight back into that supporting heel. Wrap our right armpit toward the earth a little bit more. Keep lifting that knee, maybe impossibly high. And then inhale, back square, three-legged dog. Exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Wrap your back foot for warrior two. So heel to heel or heel to arch alignment. And on your inhale, come on up. Woo! Bend your knees, shake it out a little bit. Right, knees, both knees bent. Stick your booty back, get a little wiggle on, little shake. I always joke that I like having surf music on while I do this. I know nothing about surfing, but I imagine that it looks like this. Okay, and then maybe you feel like going into more classical variation of warrior two. So you sink through that front knee, supercharge the back leg towards straight, squeeze the bum, squeeze the top of the thigh. Now here's the thing, if you're really pressing your feet away from you, you're not working your adductors. Plus, you're putting unnecessary strain on the top of that front thigh. So on the other hand, so instead of doing that, think of hugging the lower legs toward each other like crazy. Imagine you're on ice skates. You don't want to fly apart like Bambi on the ice. And then maybe look along the front shoulder or arm. Couple of breaths here. And then reach your upper body forward. Pause here. The hips will want to lift as you do this. Keep sinking them down. And then bring your front elbow to your knee, top arm to the sky, or sweep the bicep over the ear. Now, use that front elbow to nudge the knee out to the baby toe edge of the foot. Depending on how tight you are through the adductors, you might be feeling them here. I did a lot of squats yesterday at the gym, so I'm feeling it. And then inhale, back up. Gently straighten through the front leg, and then spin your toes to the long edge of the mat. So now we're facing the left edge of the mat, probably. You can just turn around to face me. Hug your legs toward each other, little bend in the knees. Exhale, melt into a wide leg forward fold. So even with wide leg forward folds, you don't want to press the feet away from each other, because that's going to cause a lot of stress on your sacrum and your SI joint in the long run. So even here, think of hugging the legs toward each other. You want your feet turned in, or at least parallel. So heels wider than your big toe. Little micro bend or even deep bend in the knees. This is a great place to bring the floor up to you, depending on, the length of your legs to the length of your torso. And then any other variation that you know and love. Keep hugging the legs toward each other though. Okay, bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then heel into the feet a little bit so that you can turn the toes out. From here, start to shift your weight over into the left leg. So we're coming into Skandasana, or a Cossack squat. So for some people, this is going to be what it looks like. Maybe resting your elbow on the knee, maybe hands on a floor or a block. Maybe you come all the way down. Your heel on this foot, your supporting foot might lift. It might stay rooted. So wherever you need to do, try not to lock out that knee. Right, your hands might be hovering off the floor. I can't do that on this side. Good. And then inhale, come back. Wide leg forward fold. Spin your toes parallel or turned in. Hug the legs toward each other. Hands to your hips. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Whew. Spin the front toes forward. Windmill your hands to the floor. Step back through a flow or to downward facing dog. Okay, on your inhale, lift your left leg high, three-legged dog, and then stack your hips. So open them up to the left, a little bend on that supporting leg, and deep bend on that top knee. Lift it high, high, high. Squeeze the bum a little bit. Wrap the left armpit toward the floor. Couple breaths here. And then exhale. Come back to center. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale. Step your left foot between your hands. Wrap your back heel for warrior two. So that's heel to heel or heel to arch alignment. And then inhale, come on up. Rather than having my back to you, I'm just going to spin around. Okay, bend both knees again. Because it's, like our bodies have different tightnesses and imbalances. So it can be a totally different experience from one side to the other, right? Maybe the waves today on the left side are a lot choppier than they were on the right. Last couple breaths here. Okay, and then start to sink into that front knee. Hug your legs toward each other. Supercharge that back leg towards straight. I said hug your legs toward each other and I just kind of glossed over it. But actively hug the legs toward each other. Like you're trying to drag that front heel back toward you. Can you de-weight the big toe on the back foot? So lots going on in the lower body. Can you find some ease through the upper body? And then inhale, reach the upper body forward. Try not to lift the hips. And exhale, front elbow to knee, top arm to the sky or over the ear without collapsing through the chest, right? So spiral that top shoulder open to the sky. And then inhale all the way back up, straighten that front leg, and then spin your toes to the wide leg, or to the long edge of your mat for wide leg forward fold again. So you can see my toes are my feet are quite turned in, and this, once you're folded forward, takes a lot of strain off the ankles and knees. Little micro bend, exhale, come into that wide leg forward fold. So here you might play with the width. Maybe you go a little bit wider with the feet this time, but never so wide that you can't maintain that hug of the legs back to the center line. From here, whatever variation with the arms that works for you. I've gone really wide, but maybe your wide leg forward fold is just like this today, in which case the feet can be more parallel. Last couple breaths. And then slowly back out of the hips, bend the knees a little bit so you can turn the toes out, and then shift your weight now to the right foot. Okay. And then start to lift up the toes on that left foot. Again, this might be your Skandasana. Maybe you come all the way down. Maybe that heel lifts. Kind of just changes day to day sometimes. Maybe your hands can lift up and you don't need the support of your hands. Not me today. But you're probably feeling that into the groin on that left leg. And then inhale, come all the way back to center. Spin the toes so that they're turned in. Hug the legs toward each other, hands on hips. Inhale, come all the way back up. Spin your left toes to the top edge of your mat. Windmill your hands to the earth. Step back, flow. Down dog, child's pose, wherever you need to go. And in fact, let's all meet in child's pose with the knees wide and toes together. And this will help release through the adductors a little bit more. You can prop blocks or fists underneath your forehead, or maybe You drape down. If you find your hips are quite high from your heels, you could bring a pillow or something in between them, or a folded up blanket. A few more breaths here. And slowly inhale. Press yourself up. Shift your hips on one side and swing your legs forward. Shake it out a little bit. Okay. Now let's really get into releasing those adductors. First thing we're going to do, little butterfly pose. This is a great place to sit up on a chip foam block if you have one. It helps tilt the pelvis forward, which makes butterfly quite a bit more accessible. If you have blocks or pillows, you can bring them underneath your knees. Right, particularly if they're quite high up and you just like, this is where I am. Cool, that's where you are. Just be there for today. It doesn't really matter, right, how open your knees are, so long as you're getting something through the adductors. The closer the heels are in toward you, the more you're going to feel this through those groin muscles as well. Okay, so inhale, lift tall, and then exhale, come forward on a long line to start with. Make sure that feels okay in your low back. If it does, then start to round forward. If it doesn't feel okay, think of pressing your feet toward each other and the knees down by squeezing the bum, and that will help protect your low back a little bit. Some of you I know will be all the way down, but go wherever you need to go. Never feel like you have to force it. Never judge how far down you can go based on how far down the teacher can go in any pose. Generally, we are quite hypermobile and shouldn't be going as far down as we do anyway, or as deep into a pose. Last few breaths. And then if you want to, you can use your hands to inhale slowly. Draw yourself back up to center. You can use your hands on the knees to draw the legs together and shake them out. Little windshield wiper of the knees. And then bring your right shin back in front of you. This time we're going to extend the left leg out to the side. So as long as it's on an angle, right, it doesn't have to be super crazy out wide. It could be, only just off the center, whatever feels good. And then shake the leg out. Because I think we all have this tendency to feel like, oh, the toes have to be to the sky. It has to be like this beautiful ballet thing, but it doesn't. So it's all good. Again, chip foam block, really good place to sit up on something or a folded up blanket. Same thing that we did with butterfly pose. Come forward on a long line first. See how that feels. And then maybe you start to come forward a little bit more, a lot bit more, wherever you need to go. This, now for me, really starts to get into the adductors. If you have a block or something, you can bring it underneath your forehead or your forearms. To give yourself a little bit of support, a little bit of lift. My knee naturally tends to hyperextend, so I like bringing a block underneath the knee or just something so that it keeps the knee micro bent. And then that way I don't have to worry about putting that excess tension on the sciatic nerve. And then slowly inhale, come back up. Keep the legs where they are. Inhale your right arm high. This time as you exhale, we're going to go sideways over top of that left leg. Now, you might not be going very far, and that's fine. You can always bend the bottom elbow maybe and rest your head in your hands, and then really reach through the right side of the body. So with every exhale, think of rooting that right sit bone down to the floor as much as you're trying to reach away from it. So you've got one long line from the right sit bone to the right fingertip. Some of you I know will have some sort of easy grab of that foot. Not me. It's all good. So a few breaths here. Getting into QL, multifidus, lats a little bit, but also adductor. Try to open through the chest. Last breath here. And then inhale, come all the way back up. Bring your right fingertips behind you. Inhale, sweep up onto the shin and knee. Not so wild thing. And then exhale, sit back down. Okay, let's switch sides. So bring your left leg in. Extend your right leg out to the side. Again, little wiggle or adjust however you need to. Maybe you're still sitting up on that chip foam block, in which case, awesome. Go where you need to go. I'm going to bring mine underneath my right knee, again, so that I don't hyperextend that leg. And then sit tall, come forward on that long line. Right? Different side can be a totally different experience. Maybe you stay tall, maybe you round forward. It's funny, after not being in studio classes or doing my normal thing, there are some poses that I find a lot less accessible than used to be. Different tightnesses that start to creep in, and also different lengthening as well. Last few breaths here. And then inhale, slowly come back up to center, reach that left arm overhead. Inhale, find length through the spine, and then exhale to fold sideways. Again, maybe you bend that bottom arm. Maybe your hand doesn't quite reach your hand. You can bring a block or a pillow in between. It's kind of like, I always joke, this is how I used to talk on the phone when I was a kid. So I was in ballet. And then reach that left sit bone toward the earth. Fingertips reach in the opposite direction. Try not to collapse through the chest, right? So opening it up. Last few breaths here. And then inhale all the way back up. Woo, bring the left fingertips behind you. And then maybe on your inhale, lift the hips up and forward, not so wild thing. And then exhale, sit back down, draw the legs back together. Oh, shake it out a little bit. And you windshield wiper the knees. And then spin yourself so that you can lie down on your mat again. Hug your knees into your chest, little rock from side to side. And then take your arms out to the side. Shift your hips to the right maybe a little bit. As you exhale, lower your knees to the left for a twist. As gentle or as deep as you need. You might look along the right arm just to finish off the spiral in your spine. And slowly inhale. And come back to center. Reset your spine and your pelvis. Maybe you shift the hips to the left a little bit. Exhale, lower the knees to the right. Same thing, as gentle or as deep as you need. Last couple breaths here. And then slowly Inhale, come back to center. Last pose before your rest is yours, whatever you feel like you need. It could be happy baby, really getting into the adductors. Now you may be just grabbing the backs of the thighs as the knees are out wide. And then my offering for you today for your rest is to take supine butterfly. So that's soles of the feet together with your knees wide. This can sometimes bring a little bit of tension onto the low back. So just shift around a little bit till you find somewhere that's comfortable. You can always bring blocks or pillows underneath your knees or your thighs. If you don't want to be there today, don't go there. Easy, right? Go where you would like to go. Flat on your back or on your side or in a seated meditation. Once you've found your pose of rest, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. With each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. Let go of all breath control. Any last muscle gripping or tension. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.